Broncos right in there and having a good sniff around the Monday Scrum.
And we're back again, Adam Peacock alongside JD, Brent Read and also James Graham. And first of all, James.
Don't. Let's
commiserations.
Right, round 19 is done, isn't it? Yeah.
The Monday Scrum. I know it's not the Monday tiki-taka, but your England boys, done by Spain. Get it off your chest. Come on.
Yeah, look, it was disappointing. Look, it's weird being from England because I think everybody hates you.
Oh,
like I think it comes from being jealous.
Of what?
Of the
The English have left their mark on a lot of countries, that's for sure.
Yes.
That's for sure, and a good mark.
Yeah. So I mean, look,
Jealous of what?
Your success at
Your
soccer
weather?
tournaments?
Your food?
we won 2 world wars, so there we go.
Bit of help.
Built the Western
Mate,
world.
come on,
Bit of help.
England, not Great Britain. England won 2 world wars.
My goodness.
So when anyone's got 2 world wars that they can put their 2 badges on, then we'll come back to the table. But I'll take that over anything. Even sporting achievements from other countries, we've got 2 world wars in the back pocket. They
Also got 2 European Championship finals that you've
we do. We do also have that. Thanks. You fired me up now.
Well, it's one thing that an England team in the finals and a loss shows you is how patriotic the English are.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to their football team. They absolutely love it. So there'll be a lot of heads hurting over there at the moment. That's
My
for
kids,
sure.
I got up with my kids to watch the game this morning, and they were cheering England. I said, kids, we hate England, okay? You need to understand. They're the enemy. And they said, we're about the 16th English. I said, well, not on my side of the family.
It is funny, though, like how everybody like outside of England would have been supporting Spain. And I look, even like Owen, who works here, who's from Wales, like there's no, like I would prefer Wales to beat Australia in the rugby. But like, that's not reciprocal. It's just everybody hates England.
Maybe you guys need to have a look at yourselves, Jimmy. Maybe the problem.
Maybe we are the problem.
English,
Yeah, maybe
not
that's
everyone else.
Possibility.
That is a very.
Or claiming 2 world wars to yourself for a start. That's
I think the Monarchs got a
without
fair
any
bit
help.
to do with it.
no
There's a
credit
range
given
of
to
issues.
anyone.
There's a range of things. I did like all those pubs in Glasgow setting themselves up as paella dens and Spanish flags
There
everywhere.
was some great. The betting companies do some funny ads.
Oh,
Classics.
they do some very good ones. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, this is a rugby league chat, so we're going to get to rugby league right now. JD, Brisbane, that's the big talking point. Obviously, it was covered heavily across the Sunday show on Triple M, but what can you identify as not so much what's got them in this predicament, but what will get them out of it?
Yeah, I think they've got to distance themselves from the noise. There's a lot of noise around them. We spoke about it last week. That's Brisbane. Like when you're up there and you're not winning, and especially when you're losing 6 in a row, the noise is loud. And they've got to separate themselves. I think there's some technical things they've got to get better at. You know, they're making their decisions on edges are inconsistent. Their outside men are getting ahead of the ball. They're conceding points that they shouldn't be conceding when they're getting the ruck control that they're getting. So if they can tighten up that and stop the scoreboard, when you're under pressure, the first thing you need to do is get your defence right, because otherwise the score ticks over and then that anxiety in your performance creeps back in. And you saw when the game was over, when the Dragons skipped out to a big lead, that all of a sudden the shackles came off and off they went and started playing, and they looked awesome at the back end. That game goes for another 5 minutes and they win that game. And they've got to try to tap into how we create that at the start of a game. How do we free the anxiety from our performance, be happy to get in the grind, and be happy to win it hard? And if they can do that, they will. I've got no doubt Kevy can get them to do it and they can go on a run. But we keep saying that. We've said it every week for the last few weeks.
Do you reckon with that noise, JD, like obviously after you've lost 6 in a row, you'd think the city would be out of love with you. But, you know, go back a couple of weeks and they had an open training session and it was all nothing but love for that team and certainly for some particular members of the team get an incredible amount of love. Do you reckon it maybe isn't filtering through? Because I know when I've been playing at teams and we've been underperforming, it's everybody's up here for not performing at that level. And I'm sure we can all think of different experiences where that pressure has come when you haven't got the results. But is it not maybe a true representation of how they're going, because they're getting the pats on the back and the love from the city of Brisbane, especially in and around their training ground?
Well, I think in general, Queenslanders aren't as brutal on their teams as especially Sydney clubs are. So I think that sort of lends. But I feel like the Brisbane members and supporters are doing the same thing that maybe the Brisbane's team's doing and thinking it'll turn. Once we get our players back, it's okay. We'll be okay. And I genuinely, with their run home, we've got it here. Knights, Dogs, Titans, Cows, Dolphins, Storm, and Eels are in there somewhere. So there's no reason why they can't win every game, but they can only drop one at best.
Yeah. Do you think more than the fan pressure, JD, it's the media pressure up there? I mean, they are such a big ticket item in that town, and when they're winning or when they're losing, the focus on them is, well, you know what? When they're losing, the focus is on them even more, and the blowtorch is really applied. Like Bomber Bedell gets his, the hair in the back of his neck gets up and gets excited, and they are such a big presence in the media, and the media focus is so heavy on them. Particularly when they're losing. Like, it is intense when they're losing and not winning.
Well, they're probably lucky in that respect that Origin is on at the moment. There's a game. Otherwise, this week would be dominated with headlines about the Broncos. But I think it's a bit deeper than that. I think they came. This shouldn't be happening, and I think that's what they're thinking in the change room. This shouldn't be happening. We nearly won a comp last year. This was our year to win one. Often people will say you got to lose one to win one. And a lot of people thought with the team that they've got that Brisbane will be there and they're going to win, the whips are cracking. And the reality is they're not going to finish top 4 now, so they're going to have to do something that somebody's never done before. And how much do they want to fight for that? And for me, I'm seeing periods in the game where there's a huge amount of fight and huge amount of come on, let's go. But it needs to be there from the start. And they need to get their process right because their process is letting them down, and that's what's causing the anxiety on their performance.
The fact they struggle so much without Adam Reynolds. Like, is that something, some players, it doesn't, like you look at Penrith, right, without Nathan Cleary, I know they've got a lot of good players around him, but so have Brisbane. They don't suffer as much. Melbourne haven't had Cameron Munster. They haven't suffered as much. Brisbane, I know Reynolds isn't the only one that's been missing, but he's the main one that's missed a lot of footy, and they haven't been able to live without him. Like, is that and you might want to answer this, is that a coaching flaw that you haven't been able to get that side in a position where they can't function without Adam Reynolds?
Well, I don't know.
Or is that a personnel issue?
Yeah. I look at a couple of clubs that have done it really well this year. So Melbourne are a great example of that. And they have somebody who comes in, Wishart comes in, and they play the game that suits Wishart. They're not playing the big sweeping plays. They're playing a lot more direct. He's a strong kid who runs the ball well, and he's happy to play direct over the ad line, and Jerome Hughes will get in and play off him. And you look at Penrith. Penrith have had multiple changes in the halves, whether it was Luai out at the back end of last year. We saw what they did in the grand final, how they were able to adjust how they played on the run. And I felt like watching them over the last, before the half got injured and before Rodgers came in, that they were still he was trying to be Adam Reynolds. And he's not Adam Reynolds yet. He's nowhere near Adam Reynolds. Adam Reynolds' ability to play the footy he plays has evolved over 200-plus first-grade games. So I felt like there was an opportunity for them to adjust their style a little bit and get Ezra Mann on the ball a bit more and let him touch a footy a bit more. Because I remember watching him over in New Zealand. The first half, he barely touched a ball. He was holding on wide fours and he's not in the game. And you need your best players getting in the game. And what Reno does really well is he gets them in the game. He gets Walsh, he gets Ezra Mann in the game. So if he's not there as a coach, okay, how do we get him in the game? I think they missed a trick a little bit there, and that's created some losses, and that's put them under pressure.
I'd love to know as well, and I don't know if they do heat maps as part of stats and everything like that, but where Brisbane finished their sets without the kicking game of Adam Reynolds, because we're looking at it, okay, attack-wise, I don't think Brisbane have too many issues, especially when Walsh comes back. But defensively, where is the opposition starting their set and the momentum that they can get off catching a kick over your shoulder, or it's bouncing a few times and picking it up, as opposed to straight down your gullet and you're on the front foot from whenever you catch it. And Adam Reynolds' kicking game, I mean, you'd know as well as anyone, JD, how good it is, where he can get the ball off his boot. I don't know if that's an issue.
Well, we saw the difference that made in Origin 2 compared to Origin 1 when Moses comes in and the ability for him to put that ball an extra 10 metres, that extra 10 metres up the field at that level makes a big difference. So, again, it does make a difference, but I go back to, I feel like if you can adjust your style a little bit, you can get your key playmakers in the game, or make a bit more ground in your yardage sets, look to move the ball a little bit more and get them running, and then you're kicking from a shorter field position. But the other thing is they're making errors. They're making fundamental errors. If you look at how they're scoring tries at them, they're not scoring team tries. They're scoring tries off individuals. Katoni Staggs created 2 or 3 of them. And Tristan Saylor jumps out a dummy half and throws a flick past there. They're actually not scoring many team tries. And that's affected because, they've got a fair chunk of players who have missed 3 of those 6 games have been without their origin players.
Jimmy, where have you got them landing?
Yeah, look, just to back up JD's point, and to your point there, Adam, about the impact of one of the competition's best field position kickers. It is huge, but they shouldn't concede 5 tries against the Dragons team that are missing their 2 best attacking weapons in Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax. Like, a lot of people were wondering, where do the Dragons get points from? Like, how are they going to get points against this Brisbane team? That was a genuine question. And they got them with pretty much the same shape 4 times.
Yeah, at the left there. Yeah.
Over to the left, middle player into the line, out the back. Then it was either direct to Leilua or, another simple block play. Now, teams will score tries like that, and even good defensive teams will concede off that play. But it's usually after sustained pressure and someone makes an incorrect decision after having to make 2 or 3 big decisions. Fatigue sets in, but it was just with relative ease that the Dragons found their way to the try line. So you've got to shore up defensively, which has been a bit of an issue for the Broncos this year. Finding points, probably not so. JD spoke about they've got some individuals that can just click into gear and just go, give me the football. Staggs is a prime example of that. Reece Walsh out the back of shape creates a tremendous amount of opportunity and indecision within that defensive line. You just wonder, are the Broncos just waiting for it to happen in terms of it all coming together? No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're too good not to play finals. Well, time's starting to run out. And to Reedy's point earlier about the pressure and how it's heightened up there, this is a team. Take Brisbane and the Broncos away from it. That roster is a team that should be in the top 4. So naturally, when they're underperforming for as long as they have done, questions are going to be asked. It's only natural. Put them in Sydney, put them in Canberra, put them in over in New Zealand. That roster, with how close they went last year, will be under scrutiny, and it'll be under scrutiny again, and it's not going to go away.
No, absolutely not.
I think we're not taking into account their losses as well from last season. Yep. The Broncos won a wooden spoon with majority of those players that are playing Origin now as young kids coming into first grade, and they had to learn on the run. They didn't have any experience around them, so they went and got some experience in Capewell, who came in. Keenan Palisea, who's gone to the Titans as well, is a solid first grader who's done a good job for them, but also they lose the experience that they had there for a long time in Flegler and Farnworth as well. Now, those guys, that's 4 quality first graders they've taken, and they've replaced them with guys that are in their first year in first grade. So, and in this period right now, when they don't have the experience around them, that's what we're seeing, and that's what you saw on the weekend. We saw inexperienced decisions, panicking under pressure, and doing things that they don't normally do, but they didn't adjust either, to what Jimmy's point in terms of that right edge. There was no adjustment in terms, okay, they got us once, okay, and that'll happen sometimes. Okay, let's adjust that. And I think there was a real key thing for them from a coaching point of view. You needed to get your numbers right on Flanagan. That was where the ball was going to go all game. And every time it went there, I felt like they were a man down. So it's about detail, I think. It's not about the final result. Get our detail and our planning and our prep right, and the rest will take care of itself.
Well, we saw Kevy blew up, didn't he? He gave him a serve in the sheds afterwards and just sort of stormed out. And you could see in the press conference after the game how upset he was with how they played.
It was a good blow up, and then he turned.
Yes.
And then did and another thing, and all the players had started to get up. There's a shot of Marty Tapau actually starting to put stuff in his bag, whereas Kevy turns around to give the dessert to the main course, if you know what I mean, in terms of the spray. So it was unusual for Kevin to lose it because he knows the camera's there. You know the camera's there, don't you, JD?
He's got a good spray in him, Kevy. Yeah. He's had a few, but I think for him, Kevy's such a Brisbane icon and just loves the Broncos. It is ingrained in him. He's so passionate, so sometimes that passion will spill over because he's a fan, he's a player, and now he's the coach, and he's probably 6 straight, and that's what everyone's going to talk about. But the reality is They need to bin that now and focus on the performance against the
I
Knights.
was waiting for some waterworks in the press conference because he can cry occasionally, Kevin, when he gets emotional, yeah.
Okay.
In the press conference.
Like
He's
James at
broken
7
down a
o'clock
couple of
this morning.
times, hasn't he?
Nothing wrong with that, mate.
No.
Sorry,
I thought it might be
I'm
coming.
gonna wear one in a
I
moment.
was waiting in the
I'm
press
picking this
conference,
up.
waiting for Kevin to get emotional.
Heavy.
He just held it in.
Needed a cuddle.
But you know, you're right, though, JD. He's so immersed and invested in that football club. He's so emotional about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a bit like you guys. I think that squad, when they're all back together, they can string some games together, but they only can afford to. They could probably lose one more game, right?
Yeah. Do you know what it does? I was watching the other night, Jimmy, and thinking, oddly enough, watching the Broncos and Dragons go around and go, they're struggling, and like Jade said, they've lost a few players and everything like that. The system doesn't hold up with those players going out. You look at Penrith, and year on year, they've been chipped away. And even when they have setbacks like their Reynolds goes out, Cleary and everything, they just keep on. The system dictates the club rather than the players and the availability of players dictating where the club finishes.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
It is, and it's similar to Melbourne, isn't it? Where, you know, how many times have we seen Melbourne lose, like, world-class, top of the competition players, and people look back and go, oh, this will be it.
Yeah.
But they've
They'll collapse.
ingrained that into their systems over such a sustained period of time, like Penrith have now, where they've become accustomed and they've got that machine where maybe Brisbane, they're the new kids on the block and they don't quite have that structure set in.
Yeah, the depth to everything.
Adjust yet. But
Melbourne haven't won a comp since Smith retired. So
that's why I was
while
thinking
they're still
Penrith
there,
the other night. Yeah.
Penrith is the anomaly. They because they're going on with it. They're not just making top four. They're winning premierships, and they've lost quality players as well. Kickout, Crichton, you know, and they just keep turning up. So I think the other thing they have an advantage, which is the Broncos don't have, is Broncos players go out to 2 or 3 different clubs when they play reserve grade, and that's 2 or 3 different coaches. You know, it's not all under one system as much as you'd like it to be, and that's the advantage of the New South Wales clubs or the Sydney clubs in particular, is you have a flag and a reserve grade into your first grade, so you can get some alignment in your systems all the way into first grade. And I think if you get that right through your pathways, that makes a massive difference when players come into
They
first
used to have
grade.
the Clydesdales, didn't they? Toowoomba Clydesdales, where they sent everyone to the Bronx.
Yeah, they're not with the
20 years ago.
Clydesdales anymore. They're definitely, I'm pretty sure it's not Redcliffe anymore. Wynnum, South Logan, and North Devils. I'm pretty sure they're
Never
still
thought
with
of
them.
that,
So
yeah.
they've and again, that's the difference in their setup, and it's the same. I know Todd Payton at the Cowboys has been pushing for a national reserve grade, and that's the biggest reason they want it, so they can get some continuity in their coaching, and the players are hearing the same voice or the same message all the way through.
There's some people pushing the old national under-20s as well again, JD. You know, we had the old, what's it called? The Holden Cup? What was it
Toyota
called?
Cup.
Toyota Cup back
Holden
in the day,
Cup,
the under-20s comp.
The fluoro ball.
I know there's some people in Clubland who still think we should have a national under-20s comp, which I don't know.
What would you
I
go
don't
for?
disagree
If
with.
they're going to plough money into one of them, what would you say from a coaching point of view?
I
What
think
would you
national
rather?
reserve grade, yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion of it. I just feel like if your best 20-year-olds are going to be playing New South Wales Cup anyway,
Yep.
that I'm a big fan of. I think we've gone to 17, 19s, 21s, is to drop the 21s and go back to 16s, 18s, 20s, and then leave the 21s out and go to a reserve grade, or drop that age group altogether. Because it doesn't mean you're gone from the game, but you're either feeding back into the New South Wales and Queensland Cup sides and making them stronger and still fighting for your opportunity. I feel like we're positioning too many players trying to create an opportunity for first grade when the funnel is already too small down there. But I think it's more about investing in the quality rather than the quantity. And some clubs have the resources to be able to do it, but not all of them do. So, but you know, that's a debate that goes round and round, isn't it?
Has the NRL got a national pathways manager? Yeah.
I think because we're talking, it's something that the game needs to think about. If they're talking about going to 20 teams, then okay, who's feeding that 20 teams?
Where's the cattle come
Where's
from?
the cattle come from? So,
Reedy, Origin. What's the latest? Who's living in a glass house? Who's not living in a glass house? What's happening?
New South Wales are up there now, up in Brisbane, so I'm sure they got
Arrive safe.
a warm greeting when they arrive, no doubt. And we'll wait and see the press conference tomorrow with Madge. We'll see if he throws some more grenades. Hopefully he does, because he's fired it all up.
Are you going?
I'm going in the morning.
Are you going to try and beat Danny Wilder for the first question?
No, please.
are you actually bothering to go?
I'm going to go. Why? Why wouldn't I go?
Well, you didn't get.
Have you and Billy made up? Or
No, I haven't spoken to Bill for a while. No.
You didn't. I thought you were too good for all that.
What
Like,
are you- No,
mate.
no, the game. I'm going to the game. It's the,
no,
it's the coverage leading up.
the press con. Yeah, man, I'm
No, I'm
gobsmacked.
going out. Mate, Suncorp Stadium on Origin night. You can't beat it.
No, I'm not talking about going to the
Yeah.
game. The day
Oh.
before the press
Oh,
conference.
I'm going to go up the day before the press conference, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're going to that.
Oh, why, Jimmy?
Well, you don't go and visit New South Wales out when they're
Well,
in
that's
the
'cause
Blue
it's a long
Mountains.
way away, Jimmy.
Well, Queensland's a far,
seen it,
long
mate.
way away.
It's my hometown, bud. I'm going home. I'm going to catch up with my mum.
I thought you'd send
Turns
one.
80 next month when I went to the
You
Olympics.
staying
I
at the
thought-
hotel?
Happy
Or
birthday.
Yeah, hotel, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I thought you'd send one of your skivvies.
Oh,
Do
no.
all the dirty
Oh,
work
I'm
for
the
you.
skivvy, man.
Oh, come on.
No, so it'll be good. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a huge game, huge,
Yeah.
huge occasion, huge couple of days, and
It'd be awesome.
hopefully the right team wins, eh?
Yeah. Jimmy's looking over at producer Charlie.
No,
He did go to Melbourne. No, no.
No, that was right. I
Charlie
would
chimed in
have
as well.
gone if I'd been offered the
Paid
opportunity.
for.
Yeah.
You'd have gone if it was paid for by someone else.
Yeah,
So you're not willing to put your
course.
hand in your own pocket and go and do some investigative
No, because they would have
journalism.
expected me to work. So why should I pay for myself if I'm going there for the newspaper?
Because you want to get the grip on the story.
Oh, okay, right, okay. I'll pay for myself next year, Jimmy.
Mate, it's a tax write-off anyway.
That doesn't wash for the missus, though, Jim. You know
Oh, mate,
She's
these
not happy about
journalists,
that.
honestly, cherry pick which. Because
that.
it's a
No,
decider.
It's
That's why. 'cause it-
delegated. We're sent. It's the choices made by head office.
Yeah.
I put my hand up to go to all the games, Jimmy.
The buy round going?
Yeah, that's a good
We
question.
are going actually.
Yeah,
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 we've got
yeah.
a live show.
Oh, you flying yourself up?
I am
good on
actually.
you,
Yeah.
Jimmy.
I am.
no,
Don't go there,
so,
Reedy.
So here's
No, he's
we're-
not.
He is.
I'm flying up.
Are you?
I'm flying up on Tuesday. Coming back on Friday because we're doing some interviews up there. And the buy round.
Oh, okay. You got yourself a junket?
No, absolutely. I'm
no,
not actually going to go. I'm not going to the stadium to watch the
You're
game.
not going to the game.
No.
Oh, what? So
Mate,
you're not going up there for the game at
Talk
all?
us through that decision.
Yeah. What's
Well,
doing?
because in order to talk about the game after it, as much as I appreciate the sense of occasion, which I have been to an Origin decider at Suncorp
Okay.
Stadium before, so I've
So
ticked that
you've
box.
lived. You've lived.
I want to go and observe it properly. And look, I want, as a fan, go to the game, but as somebody that's going to like try and break it down on the Buy Round podcast the next day, I think I need to watch it on the television
Properly
and
evaluate it.
use the replay features.
Right.
Couldn't you go to the couldn't you go to the game and then watch a replay the next day before you do your podcast?
Really, if only we were afforded that luxury, mate. We are bang. We are on a very tight
Oh,
schedule,
okay,
so
fair enough.
we've got time to fit that all in.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
because
Yeah, yeah.
he's got to watch the game and then go and have 20 beers and then wake
Yeah.
up a bit later on Thursday morning and then do the podcast. So
Yeah, okay.
that's
fair
how it's
enough,
gonna,
yeah,
so
sorry,
if we
yeah.
worked out how it's going to
Yeah.
play out,
But no, the buy, we fund ourselves as well. So yeah,
well
yeah,
done, well
yeah.
done.
Thanks, really.
Happy for you.
Tax
Yeah.
write-off, Jimmy.
Allegedly.
the game.
the game.
The game.
How,
Jody?
yeah, I think we know how the game's going to start. I think it's going to start fiery, isn't it? Both teams are going to try to win the physical battle early, and I think that'll go on for quite some time, and there'll be high completion rates. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm super excited. 2 sleeps, can't wait. But how Pong will be used, I've given this a lot of thought, actually. I think the biggest reason why he's in the team is because of Reece Walsh's lack of footy. I really
You think
do.
he'll come on a fullback?
I think he'll come on a
Really?
fullback with about 25 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go.
And take Walsh
Or
off.
potentially come on at 6.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I see him coming on. I mean, he may, depending on how their forwards are going, but I just think it's too high risk for him to go in the middle. I think Reece, again, only had the 1 game, and then he's had another game off. He's had 2 games in 8 weeks.
Mm.
You know, this is going to be and Reece has got a tendency to blow out because he's such a high impact player, and he puts so much pace and speed in everything he does, and that can take its toll when you're hadn't had the matches under your belt. So I do feel like having Ponga there gives him an ability to go, you know what, you're on at fullback, and it's a fair weapon to be coming on with 20 to go fresh.
Mm.
So
when you say 6, do you mean Dearden potentially come off? and have a
potentially,
break?
yeah,
Yep.
yep. He's obviously cover for the backs if he's there, but if no one goes down in the backs, where is he going to play? You know, and there's a lot of talk of him going to 13, and I think Queensland need to be heavily on the front foot for that to happen.
Mm.
Otherwise, it's high risk. You're taking away his attributes by putting him in the middle third. And I know he's done it before, but he done it coming in Origin off the back of 10, 11 weeks of great footy, fit. He's only had 1 game as well, so the middle will blow him out.
Yeah, just on that as well, Newcastle experimented with Ponga at 5'8", defending in the line.
Was that the game at Leichhardt?
And obviously his tackling technique was found wanted and sustained a number of concussions, and that experiment was ultimately
binned.
Yes, so it's going to be fascinating where he plays. Can they have him on in the middle defending next to a Hunt or Grant, and then not the biggest middles in the world with people like Cotter, coming up against the bench of the aggression of Lenu, Barnett, Isaiah Yo's intelligence, and he's a big body as well. I can see the attraction to Ponga with the ball, just without it, especially considering New South Wales' clear plan to just plough through that middle third.
Well, the 2 games so far, Melbourne, you'd expect it with a scoreline like that, but the first game as well, I'm pretty sure the post-contact meters, and I'm not sure how much is put into that, how much credence is given that stat behind the scenes, but it's an indication of the power in the game of New South Wales. It was actually more than Queensland in game 1, even though they got obliterated on the scoreboard. So it's pretty obvious what Queensland need to contain somehow, and is parity enough in that regard through the middle, and then perhaps Queensland are a chance? Because if they get blown away again, I can't see how they get into the contest.
If they can't match the intensity and aggression, it doesn't matter where you bring on Kalen Ponga, because the game will be gone by the time he gets into it.
But if they just got to meet the physicality, they don't necessarily have to out-muscle them.
Yeah.
They just need to match them. And have some control and get even share of footy, because they've shown with the ball, they've got more. I think they've got more strike. I do. They've looked more dangerous in terms of executing their plays. Dylan Edwards is more of a running fullback. You know, Luai's always going to come off his left foot. He's a dangerous running player, whereas you've got Walsh and potentially Ponga, DCE, and they execute their plays slightly better, I think, than New South Wales. So if they can get a run of ball, I think they can trouble us. So, again, I've said it before, I think the Lomax connection with Crichton is going to be hugely important. If they don't sort that out, then they'll get points down there early if he's going to disconnect from Crichton. So it's happened in both games. And I think it's an area that they'll look to tighten up a little bit, because if Queensland get them there, then you can bet your bottom dollar up there they're going to just keep coming.
Yeah, exactly. Will be a great night. And, of course, all on Triple M. What time's it on, Charlie? 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
2-hour pre-game. Hey, look at
And Jimmy didn't get a start, even with a 2-hour pre-game. What's that about?
As well, yeah. He's got buy round, yeah.
Because you're not from Queensland, New South Wales.
Exactly. Discrimination.
I dig it, yeah.
Neutral. Disregarded for the evening. Jason Ryles, is he in the greater metropolitan area of Sydney?
I don't know if he is at the
Reedy?
moment. There's every chance he might be by the end of the week.
Yeah.
He won't be coached. I mean, he'll just be, obviously, Trent Barrett will finish the season off. He's working in the background anyway. He spent his first week since the appointment ringing players, ringing Blaze Talangi, ringing the senior figures at the club. So
Who would have been his first call, you reckon?
I would have thought Mitch, maybe. Mitch Moses obviously. But I think Blaze Talangi was high on his priority list. Obviously, he's off contract at the end of the year, and they're trying really hard to keep him. So there'll be some meetings at some point, and they'll discuss it. And, you know, I don't... He's obviously not an assistant coach at Melbourne. He's a coaching consultant who helps out in a variety of roles. So it sounds like they're open to letting him go.
Why wouldn't he just take over Para now and get a feel for the joint and understanding of...
You even take over the coaching job?
Yeah.
Well, I just think you're better off to sit and wait, Jimmy. I mean, they're not going great. Do you really want to walk into that situation now when they're battling?
What about...
Why not let Trent finish the season, take over with a clean slate at the end of the year?
Is Trent going to be there next year?
Well, I don't think Jason's decided on his coaching staff yet, but he's got a good relationship with Trent. They know each other well. So I think if Trent wants to be part of it, then there's every chance he will be, but I'm not sure it's progressed to that point yet.
It's a weird situation, JD. I mean...
Yeah, I think either stay at Melbourne, or if you come up, if Rolesy comes up, he goes, right, I'm here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Really?
I think... 100%.
Don't you think it's better if he just lets him finish the season? Because you're coming into that situation where they're playing really poorly and they're struggling. Do you really want to, as a coach, would you really want to walk into that?
For me, I'd want to walk into the trenches and say, boys, I'm here. I took this job because I believe in you and I want to see us get better. And these are the little areas we're going to work on over the next few weeks and start building that trust and that connection straight away. So when you come in day one of preseason, if he doesn't, and it continues to go the way they're going, which is bad, it looks ordinary at the moment the way they're playing Parramatta, and it can create a lot of problems going into the back end of the season in terms of recruiting and all that sort of stuff. And what happens when the teams aren't playing like this, generally you start, and 90% of footballers are followers. Right? There's not many of them that are actual leaders. A lot of them are just they're gonna go with the flow, or they're gonna have conversations with the people they're closest to, and those conversations spread like wildfire. So if you're gonna come in, boys, we're in this together. I'm coming in here because I want to be the head coach of Parramatta, and I want to start that journey now. And again, if he's not going to do that, Ryles will know. He's going to have the conversations with Parramatta, and for me, that's how I would view it. And I think the players would respect the fact that he's going, no, let's go. We're in this starting from now.
What do you reckon, Jimmy?
No, I'm with JD. You can start to implement some change. Like now, why wait? I don't understand why you would. What is the benefit if he is released from his duties in Melbourne? Like, why wouldn't he get into work and start to see what the dressing room's like, what issues?
But he can still do that without having a hands-on role in the team. I mean, Trent's obviously been appointed as interim coach for the rest of the year.
What and then what?
And what you're going to do?
Ryles is just going to wander in and like sort of look around.
Well, they know each other. They've got a relationship. It's not as if they don't know each other.
You like Ready at that
so
press conference
basically
tomorrow.
going to say to Trent, well, mate, we've appointed you as interim for the rest of the year, and then bang, you're gone with 6 weeks to go.
Yeah.
I don't think that's very fair on poor old Trent.
Well, life's not fair.
The team's not playing well.
Yeah.
Well, it's not playing well. That's true.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know all about whether it's fair or not. It's not a matter of whether it's fair. It's about what the team's doing. And like I've said before, I think I love the appointment of Ryles. I think he's going to do a great job there. It's a great club. But if you're going to make the decision to come up, I think you should come up and go, let's go, boys. We're in this. And it might not be doing a lot of hands-on coaching, but it's not also hiding from the fact that you're in the environment and you're here to help them. Yeah, and I think just going, okay, I'm here, but I'm not here. I don't know how that works out. So, again, it's a unique situation, isn't it?
And also, like, but you got to think, put yourself in the player's position, sat in the dressing room. Oh, this guy's just here and we're worried about next year.
Yeah.
Like,
but at least there's someone
I know they're not going to make finals this year, but they're battling for a wooden spoon with the Tigers. And maybe if it looks as if everybody else is thinking about next year, then you've got an excuse to just, well, why would I try? Why would I play through injury? Maybe I'll just put the cue on the rack.
Sorry. It could even be just going in and saying, look, boys, I'm here. My biggest focus is going to be working in the background, making sure, but these are the things I've spoken to the coaches about. This is the areas I want to see improvement in.
Yep.
And then let the coaches coach, but ultimately he's holding them accountable for those areas.
I don't mind that idea.
That would work,
I don't mind
would
that
work
idea,
really
JD.
well.
And JD, you get live practice, right? You'd know what it's like. You walk into an organisation, you've got these ideas that you want to implement.
Yeah.
You start in the pre-season, you're doing it against a reserve team, and everyone's like, I'll tell you what.
Never lost a game in pre-season, mate.
We're training the house down. We're looking so
Train
good.
the house down.
Like, you fast forward to December, and everyone inside the organisation go, I'll tell you what, this Ryles, we're going to work wonders. Start to implement some of the change now, and you can actually see live in practice how it's going to look for you as an individual, for you as a left edge, for you as a middle right edge bench player, whatever that may be. Some of the things that Coach Ryles is going to want to put his touch on this team that is massively underperforming.
I just imagine Ready's thought about Jason Ryles is going to be very similar to what he's going to do at that press conference for Queensland, is just hang at the back of the room, ask the odd question, but just kind of blend in and let everyone else kind of take over.
Yeah,
so
that's not a bad way to handle it.
You're going to do that, or are you going to be front row?
No, I'll be front row, but I don't like to ask a lot of questions.
No.
People, it's a shit fight to ask a question in those things. I just like to sit back and ask something if I think it's necessary.
Okay, yeah.
I think for Ryles, it gives an opportunity to get to know the staff, because he's going to have to make decisions on staff. He doesn't know any of the staff there, so get in there, give them some direction, and then sit back and see how they take that direction. I think
the plan would be he would come in and do all that. It's just Trent would continue to coach the team.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, it's great that you've come together with your ideas.
Yeah.
And
Well, we've
conglomerated
sorted
them.
it anyway.
Yeah,
Ryles, we've got
well,
it sorted for
Well,
you.
hang
mate.
on. Trent's coaching the team, but he's just given Ryles' message.
Potentially, yeah.
I just think if
I
they
thought we settled
lose,
this and
Trent
then you
has to
confuse
front the press conference.
exactly. Yeah.
If they win, Ryles, he can front the press
Well,
conference.
also, legitimately, there's a wooden spoon on the line. They've got a very tough draw. They played Tigers in round 27. They've got some very difficult fixtures. Is part of this, do I want to associate myself with a wooden spoon?
Did you see the Tigers on the weekend? I reckon Parra will avoid the
We'll
wooden
get to
spoon.
them. We'll get to them. For now, though,
Now, the WTF moment.
I've got to start this one, and I don't think anything tops this all year in terms of a general WTF moment is what went down in Pennsylvania yesterday.
Oh.
My goodness. And won't go into detail about what exactly happened and how it happened and all that, but have you seen some of the photography around it
yeah.
and some of those the one which sees the bullet go through the air? Wow.
Have you seen the simulations about where his head was placed and what would
Yeah,
happen
yeah,
if his head
yeah.
was...
Oh.
No,
No,
it was,
I haven't seen that.
it's pretty freaky.
If you watch the video as well, there's
Well, not
people that
graphic
have gone
simulations,
down for cover,
Yeah.
but they got one eye up and they're just waiting to see. And as soon as they come up, their camera comes up with them and their phone and they're filming everything, what's going on. Like I'm like, man,
One dude behind Trump didn't flinch. He just
No, he
went,
didn't.
What's going on here? He just kept his head up and go, oh, that's a bit weird. Oh, okay.
I was
Right.
in mass panic.
You were?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because
It was 8 o'clock in the morning.
I know, but I've got a bet on him to win the presidential election. So,
Have you really?
yeah.
Oh, mate, that's money for Jam now.
I know. It was like
The
$1.60
minute he
when I
walked
got it
away
on.
like
No,
this,
no,
going,
no.
fight, he
He's-
was home.
I was-
knows
I'm
he
like-
ain't getting beat.
He's gone to
well-
$1.04 now.
Well, I know, but
What'd you get him at?
$1.60.
Oh,
So I was like, if
Overs.
he was taken out,
refund.
what
They'd
would
refund.
Ladbrokes do?
Well, he's a non-runner.
Like,
No,
well,
no, it's a refund.
so is it a refund or
Yeah.
it just goes to
That was
the
all he
net?
cared about, his refund.
Yeah.
Like,
Trump could have
yeah.
The whole of the Western
Brown
world's in
bread.
technically-
turmoil.
I got my
bet it-
refund.
And
bet
here's
is
Graham at home going, oh, my bet.
Donald Trump to win the presidential election. It's not the Republican candidate. It was
No.
specifically Donald Trump. So
Yeah. Yeah.
The stupidity of it, though, isn't it? Just
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well,
there's people there just that have lost their life.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
horrible. Horrible, the whole thing of it. Anyway, let's lighten the mood, Ready. What's your WTF?
Well, I actually found out a funny one yesterday. I was sidelined at the game, and I was talking to one of the sideline guys. I can't remember if I've told this before, but he was telling me the game last weekend, I think it was, a player went off for a HIA, and he was arguing with the referee, saying, I'm fine, I've got no issue, you got to let me come back on. And they ruled him out. The bunker ruled him out, and he demanded to be put on the phone to the bunker to plead his case with the bunker doctor. And they said, mate, you can't talk to the bunker. He said, no, I'm all right. I want to talk to the doctor in the bunker.
The
I want
bunker
to talk
hotline.
to the bunker.
Is there a number for the bunker?
It was actually Dallin Watine-Zalesniak. Yeah.
Did he
No, I
follow it
didn't
up
know.
through the week? Or
I don't know. But actually, I saw him on the sideline. He did look okay, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
He looked okay. It was the game a week ago, they were telling me.
You got to follow that up, see where it went.
No,
See
he
if
wasn't allowed. You can't talk to the bunker. But he said, put me on the phone. I want to speak to the bunker. I'm okay.
Talk to the
There's
bunker.
plenty of times I've wanted to speak to the bunker, I tell you.
I couldn't remember how I told that story before. I hadn't. Okay,
No,
good.
no. Imagine if that number got out though.
Yeah.
The general rugby league
hotline.
committee.
Didn't he have got a red phone in there?
Yeah, yeah.
Only
And I
Peter
was-
Volandi's got the
I
number.
was saying last week, remember, the one bunker man.
One bunker.
No one knows who it is.
Biggest job in rugby league that would
and his
be.
phone number is
Good as it.
04.
How good is it? You get to watch 8 games a week.
You could have a phone to him, but they have to disguise
Mental
his voice.
fatigue
so no one
that
can
you'd
pick
be.
where he was.
That person would walk around like a zombie on Monday
4
and
days
Tuesday.
work.
Yeah.
16 hours.
You can have it.
A lot
You
of
can have it.
decisions.
It's more than that.
A lot of decisions.
Yeah, and then your name just being
But you-
skewered after every
No
game.
one knows who you are. That's the best bit.
No, people would find out.
No.
People would find out.
If I'd be just putting feelers out there and going, I think Reedy sits in Jammer's there this
You
week.
would never get sick.
No, you
No,
couldn't.
that's true.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
You need a backup, a reserve. Emergency anonymous bunker.
Stand in. Jimmy, what's your WTF?
WTF moment is Darwin Nunez
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what about that?
for Uruguay, and it's the outcry against him.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Set the scene
basically-
for those that
well,
didn't see
for
it.
those that-
Uruguayan striker.
Uruguayan striker, played Colombia in the semi-final of the Copa America, and his family are sat where some fans for Colombia are,
Yep.
and he's basically gone into the crowd and started fighting with the crowd in order to get his family out of there. So
'Cause the Colombians went in to kind of
yeah, which is
agitate.
awful organisation by the
See what's happened today.
Americans. I think it was in North Carolina.
Mm.
Like, maybe you don't understand soccer or football, but you don't muck around. There's no like, oh, we're just going to sit next to each other and everything's going to be all right. Like, those South Americans, they willing to fight and die for their country when it comes to football. It's more than a religion. But people going about Nunez, he shouldn't do it. And it's got a bit of Malice in the Palace vibes. But if I'm there, I am in and I am skittling every fan to get my kids out of there.
True. True.
I can't even believe it's become an issue where he's been questioned about it. I actually, a good mate of mine from back home, his Darwin Nunez plays for Liverpool, and his 10-year-old is like a massive fan of Nunez. He's his favourite player. He's got his name on the back. And we were chatting on the phone. He's like, when he gets back to school, because they're off school at the minute with summer holidays, he's like, I know it's going to be spoken about, and like, what do you think I should say? And I said, we'll just say, like, what would you do if your family was in there? Like,
You'd jump in.
You wouldn't care if what the outcry was going to be. You'd just get in there and get them out of there, wouldn't you? So,
fair enough.
As an aside, have you watched any of that Copa America?
Did you see what happened today?
No. I saw it got delayed.
Colombian fans tried to get in without tickets, and they're jumping. They're outside the stadium trying to get through an air vent into the ground, and they're jumping the fence. It was a crush. It got really, really dangerous.
I was going to talk about
the
American commentary, because they're using American commentators.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't got all the soccer vernacular.
Yeah,
down.
man.
It's quite funny.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Oh,
The
PK.
Double
Slap
TF
shot.
is centered around Sky Nicholson. She's an Australian boxer in the featherweight division, dominating overseas. If anyone gets a chance, get out there and watch some of her fights, because she is genuinely an outstanding fighter.
She fought yesterday?
She fought last night.
Last night, yeah.
Or yesterday morning, sorry. And she won every round, 100-90, dominated the competition. She's set to unify the weight class, but a double TF is, how do we get more publicity for her here? And she's Aussie.
Yeah.
And, I don't feel like we're seeing enough of her because she is a special talent.
Does she need to have a big fight night here, put her on main event, all those things?
Yeah.
To kind of put her on a big no-limit card. I don't know if she's tied up with those guys or another promoter. But
yeah, well, she's with Matchroom, Eddie Hearn. So,
okay.
But I know she's tweeted or on her Insta about wanting to fight in Australia sometime, but it'd be great if we can make it happen, because she really is a special fighter.
Well, Eddie and his company brings the darts to Australia, all the big darts players.
Yeah.
They've made a big player, actually. They've signed Justice Huni, I think, as well.
So
they've got that Liam Paro.
Maybe combine the two, have a darts and boxing night all in one hit.
Fighting this weekend?
Front row, wouldn't you?
Huni? He's fighting
I think
soon.
he announced a comeback. Yeah. Oh, his next fight, sorry. His next fight, yeah. He's fighting another Aussie guy, I think, Justice.
You'd be there front row, wouldn't you, Jimmy, if we combine those two sports in one night?
That's
a dream.
That is like the new UFC.
That's
like what potential for things to go wrong.
Yeah.
Darts and fighting.
Yeah.
That's like pub brawls.
Yeah, be like a biathlon. You have them
Darts
all
is
in
good
one.
fun. I went to the darts about 10 years ago.
That is great fun.
It was like a night out after watching Rocky.
The dart is
Everyone thinks they're...
a bizarre sport to go and watch, because
Fun.
you can't see anything. You're basically watching it on the screen.
Yeah.
You're not. You can't see.
You're not there for the darts, Jimmy.
No, you're not.
No.
It's like, that loads of groups of friends go, let's all go to the darts. Excuse to go out. Basically, they just go and dress up and
dressed up like Teletubbies and
we
go
went
and
as
act
dead.
like
We
them.
went as the dead presidents. We all had masks on.
Did you?
Yeah. And then we had the guys had guns, right? Plastic guns.
Yeah.
So it was like 10, 15 years ago. One of the blokes went to haul a cab down, mask on, with plastic machine gun in his hand. The cab just kept going.
I can't believe
Could
why.
you imagine doing that now?
No, you'd be out of there
fun.
pretty quick. Let's back it up, WTF, with this.
Ready's Mail.
Brought it up in the rundown again because you've got mail about our next subject, and you can go for it, Ready? Because
we're going to talk Manly, right? And Jamie Humphries obviously starred for Manly yesterday, played halfback, made his debut, first grade debut, been knocking on the door for a long time, Jamie Humphries. What's really interesting about him, aside from his background, which is quite intriguing because his dad used to be CEO of the club, he played at the London Broncos for a while when his dad was over there, but he'll be announced as a South Sydney player today. He signed a deal with South for next year. Spoke to him about it late yesterday after the game. Basically, I think Manly wanted to keep him, but the opportunity at South Sydney was too good to turn down. So,
was this something that was bubbling along for a while?
Yeah, we've been keeping an eye on him for about 12 months, and particularly a few months ago was where the interest ramped up a bit. He was obviously contracted to Manly, so we were waiting to see how that played out. And then, it's he's a talented kid. He played NRL in the trials and early in the year and played in various positions as well. He can play in the halves, he can play 9, or he could play 13. He's a solid kid, so he's got some real versatility. And I think with Mamazelis coming in as that 9 in the future, he's probably going to need someone who can rotate that role with him, but also gives him some extra options in the halves as well.
I'll tell you what else he is. He's a really well-spoken kid, really respectful, really well-mannered, a really nice kid, actually. The sort of kid you like to see succeed in the game. So, and he was outstanding yesterday.
And he's a gun goal kicker as well.
Yeah.
Very handy goal kicker. So he probably would have kicked more than Garrick yesterday.
Yeah.
He didn't have his
He
boots
didn't
on.
have a good day, did he? Interesting week. I know we're going to get to this later about Desi coming back to Manly.
Yeah, get to it now.
We actually asked Siebes about it after the game because it's going to be really intriguing to see the response Des gets, because obviously he's involved in a legal case with that football club. He's still suing them. It's due back in court, I believe, in November, suing them over the nature of dismissal and unfair dismissal. So there's some relationships with people in that footy club that aren't particularly good.
I think it was more... This time it's more relationships. Last time when he came back with the Dogs, the fans got into him.
I can't remember. Did he get booed last time he came out?
Oh, yeah. Every time his head went up on the big screen, and you were playing that night, weren't you? It was good fun on the hill that night.
I reckon he'll cop it again just quietly. But it was interesting because we did ask Anthony Seibold about it after the game, and he was very, very respectful about Des. He said, look, the guy's won multiple premierships here as a player, as a coach. He said you could argue he's among the top 5 coaches in the game's history, got immense respect for him, and I think he sort of urged in a way the supporters to show Des that same respect. So hopefully they do, although I don't think Des will worry, will he?
I was surprised he wasn't there at the Golden Eagles Day, like the old boys' day at Manly yesterday.
You were surprised?
Yeah, I reckon he should have went for that just for
a laugh,
just to warm up.
That would have been funny.
That would have been funny, but also free feed Des, knowing Des, he would have just gone for that.
But I heard he's tighter than Wayne, Des.
Yeah, I reckon that. Obviously, I know he wouldn't, but just that sense of humour, just to turn up for Old Boys Day, be part of that guard of honour. Do the lap of the field,
text message to Tony Mestrov. Hey mate, by the way, can you leave a car pass and my ticket at the gate, and I'll be there.
I'm looking forward to seeing his press conference after the game, because you see his one on the weekend. He basically got up and started walking out after 2 minutes.
Anything to do with that?
He is such a punishing press conference, honestly. Just finally, Nelson Asofa-Solomon. It's a really interesting story developing with Nelson in Melbourne now. There's obviously been a lot of speculation about Nelson's future down there. The club's chasing Stefano Utoikamano really hotly, and there's been some talk that Nelson may be on his way out. Now, last week he posted an Instagram post on his social media saying all good things must come to an end, and now he's actually posted an image in the last 24 hours of a shot out of the window of a plane with Japan and basically the peace sign. Apparently he's not in Japan. Apparently he's been in Queensland and the Sunshine Coast. So
he put the location Tokyo, but he just had clouds from a plane.
Yes. In
the post.
So I think it's Nelson's having a bit of fun with us all. I don't know Nelson that well, but people obviously tell me he's a bit of a different sort of cat, Nelson. And I'm sure he knows all about all the talk that's going on at the moment, all the speculation about his future, and it looks like he's decided to have a bit of fun with it all. But obviously there's going to be some talks in Melbourne this week with Nelson about his future and about that post he made last week about all good things must come to an end. I'm sure this post will get a mention as well in those meetings, and we'll have to see where it lands.
Does where Stefano ends up affect his future directly?
Well, Melbourne is saying they don't necessarily need to move Nelson to get Stefano. I actually think we're reasonably close to a decision from Stefano. In fact, I suspect we might get a resolution this week in some form. He obviously flew up and met the Dolphins, I believe, at the weekend. So Melbourne is saying no, but I'd say that if Stefano does go to Melbourne, I don't imagine Nelson will be there. And what made the Japan thing interesting was, I think it was last year when he was off or he's in discussions about a contract at Melbourne. I was led to believe last week he actually had a contract in Japan, Japanese rugby lined up, ready to go, but he turned that down to extend in Melbourne. So that's why the Japan thing was quite intriguing.
Okay. Manly yesterday, pretty happy to see Tommy Turbo do what he did. It was a pretty controlled performance across the board for Manly because they were, with the ball, they were better than Newcastle. But I was watching, I think I mentioned just before we came on, JD, I watched Tom play now, and I lose sight of the ball after he plays the ball just to see how he gets up and everything like that. But it felt like as the game went on, he incrementally got more confident to do more things and get more involved as the game went on. And by the end of it, he was running full pelt.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I mean, hamstrings are. I was fortunate never to be able to run fast enough to do a hamstring, but they're soft tissue injuries. They do. How much training you do, because you're never going to take off like you do in a game in a rehab session. So, it's good to see him grow in confidence as game. And as a supporter of the game in general, you want to see Turbo playing well, running well, because he brings people through the gates. He's exciting. Not only him back for Manly, but his impact for the game. Like, everyone wants to see Turbo play well. So I thought when he out-jumped the fullback to score that try, that was sort of a bit of a turning point for him, because he had to really put his foot down to get there and then get up in the air. And, he sort of kicked on from that moment.
Fullback, that's him.
If Manly are going to win a comp, it's with Tommy at fullback. That said, I was surprised to see him come back so soon, especially with Hopewate playing.
I think it was,
and Garrick. So
Cooler was the one that they earmarked for it.
Yeah.
But just on Hopewate, how smart is he? Like, I know his dad has got a name, but his was based on instinct and power. Whereas Lehigh, like some of the decisions he makes,
try assist, the crossfield kick from Brooks back inside was.
He doesn't do dumb things though with the ball.
No.
Like, he knows when he's run out of room, he comes back inside and links up with another player. He's some talent.
He definitely got his mum's brains in terms of how he played.
I wanted you to say that. I didn't want to say that because I live in the area and John come find me.
And that's no knock on John, because I loved watching him play. He's just he's one of those guys, especially when he played for New South Wales. Loved it. But he's a talented kid, isn't he? Did the call on Friday night with Will, and you can see how he speaks of his younger brother, but he's just enjoying his footy. He's just out there. He didn't expect to be playing first grade, so he's no pressure on him, and you can see that the way he's playing. But he's just got he's not overawed at all. There was a couple of times where he got a bit of ball and there was nothing doing. It was and he just bounces off a couple of feet in between defenders, little flick pass, and off they go into attack again. So, wow, Manly have unearthed some exciting players this year, and I think things are looking good if they can keep him healthy the back end of the year.
Tell you what he has got from his dad is toughness, because he's not that big a kid. That was one thing we interviewed him after the game, and he's not thick set or a big kid, but he doesn't shirk it. He doesn't shirk the contact or.
I think he's number 7 or 8, isn't he? So he's he'd have learnt to be tough. That's for sure. Fighting for his dinner at dinner time and
Speaking of toughness and what West Tigers can throw up this weekend against the Bunnies, we did say when they had those couple of wins, it was like, well, hang on, back up the bus, wait until they play these sides at the top. They haven't got anything out of those games against the sides at the top. I mean, you just look at the fact that 140 minutes worth of football has been spent in the sin bin this season. It's nearly 2 whole games of footy spent by their players in the bin this year. Appy was really unlucky.
Yeah,
that looked like a sin bin, but it wasn't. But overall, far out. What do they have to do, Jimmy, to try and improve over what's remaining of the season?
Yeah, look, it was a really poor performance. Obviously, Benji spoke after the game, apologised to the fans. It just, the Sharks have been out of form. They were there for the taking, and Tigers really just didn't turn up. Can they turn much around this year? I don't think so. It sort of appears to be a group that's a little bit split. Still not quite sure on the direction that they're taking. Obviously, you've got Utoi Kamanu weighing up his future, one of their brightest young stars. Obviously, the Galvin thing has been put to bed for now. And then a number of players, senior players that, allegedly are being shopped around, which, it's sort of that really toxic environment that doesn't usually produce performances that you're going to compete against teams on a week-to-week basis. So I think it's going to be a difficult remaining 8 rounds for the Tigers and their fans, but you'd like to think that they're laying the foundations for success in the next couple of seasons.
Well, I just feel like a side that's looking forward to the end of the season now. I mean, there was some green shoots early, but and look, I mean, Lachlan Galvin's obviously a promising kid. They've got some other kids who've debuted this year who look like they could be good players. Pole's gone really well at lock, but there's not much. You're sort of grasping at straws at the moment with that footy team. There's not a lot of optimism at the moment.
Appy being injured as well with the
Yeah.
calf.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
He's
He's
streets
unlikely to play
their
again for the
best
rest of the year now. So
Yeah.
that's a massive loss.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one guy who's bringing experience. He's effort on effort areas. I mean, yeah, he gets sin bin, but he's chasing back saving tries as well.
Yeah.
That's sort of been overlooked because of the sin bin. But he's going to be a massive loss. But they've got, again, as I said with Broncos, get the fundamentals right. Like they got done probably 4 times because they don't get their splits right. You know, they don't get the right numbers, and that's a learn for the young fullback in Buller, who I think is going to be an exceptional talent over the next few years. But, you know, they get those things right, then you've got a chance. But against Cronulla, who move the ball side to side, they've got big outside backs. If you don't get your splits right, you're in a lot of trouble. And short sides, they didn't get their numbers right. So, you know, there's a challenge there for them. But again, they can't be thinking about 6 games. We're thinking about first 10 minutes, then the next 10 minutes, you know, and just be winning periods of games, and then trying to win 3 or 4 periods in a game, and then seeing how that looks in the end result. And that's where they're at. And that's, fortunately for them, that's a good learn for these young guys building in the rest of the year. Focus more on that rather than the end result, because the end result's not going to make a difference to their season.
What do you, JD? They got a lot of kids, right, that they blooded this year. But I would imagine as a coach, you would be reluctant to keep playing them in a side that's getting pumped every week. Like Benji probably hasn't had a lot of options at times, but, you know, with Appy out, you have to play Talon De Silva, I imagine, now at hooker. Those kids, that playing in that environment and that team at the moment can't be great. I can't imagine it's great for those kids' long-term development.
But usually when the season's gone in terms of making finals, it should free you up a little bit, and it should give you an opportunity, what I call, you got a free swing, you know, out there, and you just go out, you go for it. It's a dead ball. You can hit it wherever you want. And just that's how they got to approach it, you know. Like Lockie Galvin, get out there and play footy, and he's doing that. But on the flip side of that, you got to defend. If you don't defend, you're not going to get a chance to do the things you want. Because there was probably 3 or 4 times where Lockie gets himself right where he wants to off a certain play, but doesn't quite nail the bloke he's passing to. So that'll be a work on for him through the week. But he's not getting opportunities to do that because they're constantly stood behind the goalpost. They had 4 sets, I think, in a row on Cronulla's try line at 18-6. They score anyone in any of those sets, and they go in at 18-10, 18-12 with a side like the Tigers. That they keep fighting. Because they don't, they take the intercept and run the length, which was a bad play because they scored their first try because Ramian was up ahead of the line, and this time he's up ahead of the line again. They threw the ball straight to him. So they went away from what worked, but that's experience. That's a good learn for them. So, but once that score blows out, when you've got nothing to play for the season, that's when your real character shows. Who are you as a player? What are you going to bring to this organisation for the next 6 weeks?
So Souths on Saturday Arvo. You'll hear that on Triple M this weekend. Gents, last words out of your mouth. Who wins Origin? JD?
New South Wales.
Mr. Neutral?
England. Queensland.
Get out.
We're still Queensland.
Yeah, we're still Queensland as well. Well, I'll go New South
That's
Wales.
why I want us to win. 'Cause the arrogance in that statement. Come on.
Enjoy the game, gents.
Come
Thanks
on.
for the Monday
Oh, we
Scrum.
won't get
It's the only time I get fired up for Queensland. I love Queenslanders, but Origin fires me up.
we won't get the post-Origin banter. You two are off on your jollies, aren't you?
Charlie's hard work, buddy.
Olympic Games, mate.
Yeah.
You're going to immerse yourself in the French culture?
Yeah, bought a beret yesterday.
Yeah.
No,
You did not.
I'm going
Your
to
stripy shirt.
Seriously, you must pinch yourself, though. Get an opportunity to go over.
I'm not going. I'm
Oh,
doing
yeah?
it from here, but
Oh,
he's
right.
going.
Going over
it's
to the
pretty cool,
Olympics.
yeah.
That's awesome.
pretty cool. And we're staying. Our hotel's about a kilometre from the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
In the middle of this Paris.
I've
so
seen
it's
you on
pretty
away
cool.
trips as well. You make the most of it.
Please.
They won't send
all
you.
work, JD.
They won't send you to Melbourne, but they put you up next to the Arc de Triomphe
Yeah,
on
I
the
know.
other
It's
side
not
of the
bad,
world.
is it?
Hey,
That's
that
probably
makes
why they
sense.
can't afford to send us to Melbourne.
I love it when the World Cup was on over in England and they were going, it's a nightmare here. We've got to stay up late so we can do our stories.
Thanks, gents. Have a good week.